Hello and welcome to Women of the Middle East podcast. This podcast relates the realities of Arab women and their rich and diverse experiences. It aims to present the multiplicity of women's voices, and it wishes to break cultural stereotypes about women of the Middle East, as well as educate and empower the younger generation of Middle Eastern women who were stripped of their historical reference and weren't necessarily raised to believe in their agency and power to create their own destiny. I'm Shaima Malki. I'm a feminist, scholar, and educator. I'm also the author of Arab Women in Arab News, Old Stereotypes and New Media. I created this podcast to be an extension and an update of the book and its main topics. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Women of the Middle East podcast. To begin with, I'd like to apologize to everyone. I know I'm a bit of a lazy podcaster. I'm not one that has been abiding by certain timelines or deadlines. I'm really sorry. It's what I do is I do it out of passion, definitely, and I'd like to connect more often. Yes, work and family during COVID-19 hasn't been easy, but I've been always thinking of ways of creating new content and relevant and interesting content for you. So I'll try to do better this year, starting from this month. And let's begin. So March 2021, we have celebrated International Women's Day on the 8th of March. Which marked a beginning of a challenge under the theme of I choose to challenge. And I do. I have committed to a new challenge. I choose to challenge the vilification of feminists and feminist movements in my region. Feminists, brave and determined, still function within the thorny boundaries of patriarchy and capitalism, and within political systems that are lending their viability to maintaining the status quo, including the rigid traditional structures. These structures still attempt to discredit women and their struggles and their call for claiming their rights. They still strive to confine women to the private sphere by making the public one as insecure and as unsafe as possible to them. How many times have we heard that feminists are men haters, that feminists are a direct threat to the family values and to our society's values? How many times have we heard that feminists are political dissents in disguise and work with outside foreign governments? Well, we hear that, and yes, as much as we think that those claims are ridiculous, but they are not so ridiculous because they've been used as an excuse for hatred, enticement, for character assassination, and for political reasons through throwing feminists in jail. Hundreds and hundreds of examples can be mentioned from countries in the region. I'm in no way interested in responding to these silly and ignorant claims about feminists and feminist movements in the Arab region or in the MENA region. But I'm aware of their danger as they feed the ignorance of people by playing on their fear of loss of religion and culture, by vilifying us. So, as a proud feminist who believes in the cause, I choose to challenge, and I intend to celebrate women and feminists and feminist movements in the Arab world and shed the light on what they are and what they stand for as much as I can, using this podcast as one of the venues I have available. I will let them talk for themselves whenever I can, or I'll tell their stories. So this year I'll be doing 3 parts to fulfill my challenge. The first one would be educating others about feminists and feminism in our part of the world. The second is amplify their voices by using this podcast as a platform. And third, make sure I represent myself as a feminist in all venues. So I begin my challenge, and in this episode we will hear several testimonials from amazing feminists from the MENA region who will be telling us what feminism means within their context and why they consider themselves proud feminists. We have Shaima Al-Sultan from Qatar, Samia Malki from Tunisia, Dr. Al-Anoud Al-Sharekh from Kuwait, Shaima Al-Blushi from United Arab Emirates, lawyer Azza Soliman from Egypt, and Banan AbuZainEddin from Jordan. Shaima Al-Sultan from Qatar, from a context that is conservative and traditional. She's a brave young woman who is a proud feminist as well. She's a writer, social and women rights activist. Talk to us a bit about who she is and what she stands for.
We keep receiving this question: are you a feminist? Why are you a feminist? And there is very simple answer to this question: because I'm a woman, hence I have to be a feminist. On a daily basis, and just because we're women, I see our rights being squandered, robbed, diminished and marginalized, and I'm all for those rights and against any injustice that befall us women. And I think that we have to speak up and say what we have to say. I think that our goal today is to bridge the gap between the term feminism and what we want in terms of rights, and bring it closer to our vision. That stems from our values and morals. This is not by wasting our time in justifying and narrating the history of feminism and the direction of where it's going, but by highlighting our positions and voicing our views clearly. This is the right, that's what we want, and this is the way to restore it.
Let's hear now from Samia Malki from Tunisia, the president of Kadirat Women Organization.
Hello, my name is Samia Malki. I'm a Tunisian civil society activist. I've been involved with civil society relatively early. I was 16 when I started. I'm Tunisian, but I like to call myself a global citizen of the world. I'm the president of Kadirat, a women's rights NGO, which is a member of African and Arab women networks and feminist groups. Kadirat works to change discriminatory laws. We are currently working on the domestication of the Maputo Protocol that Tunisia has ratified 2 years ago. Besides pushing for changes in laws that discriminate women, we also advocate for the implementation of the laws, which is not very easy. For me, being a feminist is about being against injustice, as simple as that. I know that the term feminist tends to be associated with negative connotations of women who hate men, but of course this is not true, because feminism is really the fact of striving towards equality for everyone, It is, of course, ensuring equal rights as well as opportunities for women, trying to empower all women to realize their full rights. It's a struggle, a daily struggle to improve the conditions of women.
Let's hear now from Al-Anoud Al-Sharekh, who is a scholar, a researcher, an activist, and a proud feminist. She is an outspoken advocate of women's rights, and she is the director of Ibtkar consultancy.
To me, feminism is many things. It's schools of thoughts, it's academic theories, and it's political movements that highlight human rights issues from a gendered perspective. I had a conversation with a colleague a few years ago whether I was a self-proclaimed or a self-evident feminist. Now, I believe it must be the latter, because there are so many discriminations against women based solely on sex. There are so many unfair practices and unequal opportunities that I don't think it's a choice. You have to be a feminist. You have to, raise your voice and demand to be recognized and included. I believe that there's room for study and research on Khaliji feminism and what that means exactly in the different GCC states, and how it intersects with historical and political situations in each state, and how it differs from state projects of women's empowerment. And I think there are many different political movements and schools of thoughts that could fall under the title of Khaliji feminism that haven't been explored and studied enough.
Now let's hear what Banan AbuZaida has to say about being a feminist. She is the co-founder and executive director of Takatoat, which is an NGO and a feminist organization in Jordan.
I am Banan AbuZainEddin, a feminist and one of the founding members of Takatoat, and its executive manager. To me, feminism is a lifestyle, something I live daily, choices, decisions I make, experiences I go through, which reflects on how I support women around me and in my community. Feminism is a school of thought and knowledge we use to face our reality, our way to free ourselves from the reality we live in, where we reject all kinds of discrimination and practices that happen to us as women and girls. It is the accumulation of feminists' history and their struggle in order to build a revolutionary movement that rejects the oppression of women and marginalized groups. The intersectionality of our issues with these groups is based on solidarity, love, strength, and our support for each other. This is the way to pressure change and achieve equality, justice, security, and freedom for women and all spectrums of society. Women in the Arab world throughout history have been struggling and facing all forms of oppression and discrimination. They seized many rights and many achievements that we celebrate today, and we exist, raise our voices, and have a place in the public sphere thanks to them and their struggle. Unfortunately, our feminist history in many places is being obliterated in contrast to the better documented Western feminist history. However, this still does not eliminate all the struggle that women and feminists have carried out in our countries, which we continue today through the efforts of the generation before us by the daily presence on the ground and permanent support for women's rights, which is based on strategies, different tactics, and ideologies such as feminists all over the world. And doing so, it considered quite healthy and certainly not harmful. But we also face various challenges related to the context that prevents us from being more organized and influential through our discourse, our work, and our journey. This is why we still have a lot of work to do in order to build a successful feminist movement and reach more achievements and developments for women and young girls. With all the experiences we go through in our daily lives as women and young girls, the stories we hear about women's suffering, discrimination, and injustice that befalls them simply because they are women and part of the society, from oppressive practices and unfair laws against us, which leaves us with limited options just because we are women and girls. We witness the authoritative power exercised on us, the guardianship of our bodies, the limitation of our choices, and always dealing with us as second-class citizens by all standards, just by being within these regimes that consecrate male power over us. All this prompts me to be a feminist, an angry feminist, loudly rejecting this reality. For me, feminism is an intellectual movement and practice through which we value justice, equality, and freedom for women and all spectrums of society.
والتطور لصالح النساء والفتيات.
What does feminism and being a feminist mean to Azza Soliman, who is an Egyptian lawyer, a women's human rights defender and feminist? She founded the Center of Egyptian Women's Legal Assistance in 1995 to offer legal support to victims of abuse and domestic violence.
Feminism is an assembly of ideas, a school of thought that started due to women's oppression and their sense of inequality throughout history. It was fighting violence against women and discrimination that happens in all fields, such as the economic, social, and political sphere. Therefore, the concept of feminism came to light. I'm a proud feminist because I'm against discrimination and injustice, more so when it comes to women. Also, I'm working through history to achieve justice and equity, especially for women. Furthermore, feminism fights all types of discrimination against any member of the society. As for the new generations, I think they are very impressive. In fact, in the past, we used to feel stigmatized, where we couldn't reveal that we are feminists out of fear of the society and its look to feminism. It was believed that feminism was a licentious ideology based on immorality and everything that will demolish the values of family and society. So we were feeling ashamed. Nowadays, the new generations are strong, brave, and able to reveal that they are feminists against discrimination and fighting against all types of violence.
And now, last but not least, I'll leave you with Shaima Al-Blushi, who is an exceptional young woman from the United Arab Emirates. She's also the co-founder of Inequality Exposed.
My name is Shaima Alblooshi, and as cliche as this may sound, I first and foremost identify as a human being. We sometimes forget that that's what unites us. We are so focused on our differences like religion, race, and gender that we forget that if there's no humanity, we are left with nothing but insanity. I'm also an academic. I have 3 master's degrees and 2 bachelor degrees, and hopefully soon I'll have a PhD as well. I'm a senior consultant in one of the big 4 companies, and I am a feminist. I have an online platform called Inequality Exposed that talks about women achievement and women rights across the world. I believe that we are all sharing the same struggle, and that struggle is to live in an equitable and equal society. And I believe that once we start understanding how this exists across the world, we can become more loving towards one another. And this is my goal in life. Feminism means everything, yet nothing to me. And when I say it means nothing to me, it's because I have been blessed, and honestly I am privileged to live in a family that has never restricted me because of my gender and sex. I lived in a family that never really perceived me as less than my brothers. I lived in a family that never inhibited my outreach, never inhibited me from reaching my full potential. Yet feminism means everything to me because the truth is, sometimes your gender and your sex restricts you from everything. Some women cannot even ride a car. Some women cannot even go out with their friends and enjoy the convenience of having coffee in a coffee shop with their friends. Some women get taught that marital rape is not a thing. And therefore feminism to me means everything, because I know that these women unfortunately can be voiceless because they have been silenced by society and they have been silenced by their families. I have not, and therefore I am privileged in many ways. And this takes me to the second point of why I am a feminist. I am a feminist because I can be a feminist, because I have the tools, the weapons and the equipment to face the world and to face the patriarchy and to fight for those who are defenseless. I am shielded and protected by my education, by my family, which does play a very important and strong factor in our Arab world. Many do not have this privilege. And somebody has to pick up that sword and fight. If not me, then who? And this is why I'm a feminist. Unfortunately, feminism has become a taboo. It's become a bad word. When people think about feminists, they think about man-haters. They think about women who are set out to destroy men. The truth is we are not battling men. We are battling the patriarchy. We are battling a system that has failed both men and women, but specifically women. So what does feminism look like in my world? It's not something you want to be in the eyes of society. It means you are transgressing and trespassing social norms and the status quo. But what I would like to propose is to reconsider how status quo and how social norms have failed us in many ways. Today, the financial burden falls completely on men. This has failed men, for example. Today, many women have to make a choice. Do I want to have a career or do I want to be a mother? It doesn't have to be this way. It can be a world that suits men and women. And if we restructure feminism to suit our reality, then feminism can be very vital to everybody living in the Arab world. And this is what I set out to do. I'm here to make sure that feminism reflects our reality and that we don't adopt a Western concept of feminism. While Western feminism has worked greatly in the West, it's Western feminism, and our reality is slightly different. Feminism right now is taking shape in a different way across the Arab world, and I believe that in time we will be able to transform the whole and the entirety of the Middle East into a feminist society if we continue to redefine feminism in a way that reflects our reality.
So I tried to compress in this short episode what feminism is to several prominent and young feminists from our region and what feminism means to them. And again, in an attempt to eradicate certain stereotypes, this time from within as much as it is from the outside world about feminism and feminists. We come to an end. But I do promise that I will be working, and I've actually started working on the next episodes. And as I told you, I've been creating new content with brand new ideas and reaching out to different speakers. So next episode definitely will be soon. Until then, take care and stay safe.